Hello, I'm Stephen Fox. I'm a bankruptcy attorney. I do Chapter 11 business reorganization. I represent companies that are looking to save themselves from disaster, to survive, and to grow through Chapter 11 bankruptcy. I also represent creditors in Chapter 11 bankruptcy cases, creditors who are looking to protect their own interests. My offices are located in California, but I represent both the debtors and creditors throughout the United States of America. I only recommend bankruptcy when it is the best solution. I believe that Chapter 11 bankruptcy is one of the greatest inventions the United States of America has ever created. It allows a company that has failed or is failing, The Walking Dead, to survive, to plan how to reorganize and come back, and then to grow the company, get a plan confirmed, and pay the creditors what the company can afford to pay. There is no other system of bankruptcy anywhere on this planet, anywhere near as good as our system of bankruptcy. Let me talk to you today about 3 types of bankruptcies, and this is a general introduction. One type I'll talk about will be the voluntary Chapter 11 bankruptcy, where the company goes in and wants to reorganize the business and pay creditors over time. A second type of Chapter 11 is where the company goes into bankruptcy with the intent to sell itself or its assets to an outsider or perhaps to an insider, keep the debt for itself, but also get money for selling itself to the outside company. And a third type of bankruptcy, which is the involuntary bankruptcy, where creditors come along and they try to put the business into a Chapter 11 case. Let's go first to the voluntary bankruptcy with the intent to reorganize. Here, it's a planned bankruptcy. The owners of the company and the attorney and the rest of the team take time to figure out how to take the company into bankruptcy the best way possible, how to make the best use of Chapter 11. For example, can we reorganize the company by installing a new line of products? What is the result of that likely going to be? Do we have sales practices we need to change? Do we need to change the way management runs the company? Are the owners or the leaders of the company making some mistakes that need to be fixed? Are there accounting problems? All of these different issues can get fixed during a bankruptcy. A plan is proposed, and then creditors are paid what the company can afford to pay. There are some really good benefits from doing this type of a Chapter 11. Not only is the company saved, but most of the time, the owners get to keep their ownership in the company, and they walk out of bankruptcy, that is the company with the owners, with a much better company than the company that went into bankruptcy. The company gets a clean balance sheet, which is vital if the owners are interested in selling the company some years down the road. And those are really, really important advantages. Let's go over to the second kind of bankruptcy, or Chapter 11, where it's voluntary and the owners want to sell either the assets of the business or the business itself. And this is a perfectly fine and legitimate kind of Chapter 11. What happens is the company goes into bankruptcy, and generally its problems, what's wrong with it, its ills, are not corrected, or at least they're corrected only enough to keep the company from going under, if that's an issue. Then, an outsider typically, but it can be an insider like an owner, comes along and makes a bid to purchase the company. The amount has to be for fair value, because there will be other bidders who may come in and try to overbid the owner or the proposed third-party purchaser. When the purchase is over, the assets, for example, have left the debtor company. The debtor company has the money. The debtor proposes a plan, and the creditors get whatever the money is that is there from the sale. There are benefits of this type of a Chapter 11, which is the owners don't have the business anymore. Maybe they don't want the business anymore. Maybe they want a way out. Another huge advantage is that in a Chapter 11 sale of assets or of the business, the sale can be free and clear. And it's a remarkable device the concept of free and clear. It means that pretty much any claim of an ownership interest in any asset of the debtor, any claim of a debt against the debtor goes away. It leaves the machinery and equipment or the receivables. It leaves whatever the debtor owns, and those claims attached to the money. And then people can fight over who gets what part of the money. But the buyer gets all these assets, or the company itself, free and clear of claims. Now, there are certain claims you cannot wipe out. For example, certain environmental claims. But that's not usually an issue for most purchasers, because most of the time, environmental claims, for example, are not a real issue. We have the third type of bankruptcy, which is the involuntary bankruptcy. And I'll tell you a story. Many years ago, a fairly young man came to see me and he said, my company has been put into, or is being put into, an involuntary bankruptcy. He told me about his company. It was a neat little company. It had hundreds of thousands of yards, if not more, of all sorts of Middle Eastern carpets. And I went and took a look at the carpets, and it was, if I was a kid, it would be a great place to play and hide. There was so much carpeting there and so much of an ability for children to have a great time. But he wasn't having a great time because he was short of money, or really his company was short of money, and the suppliers were coming after the company, and they were coming after him. And we looked at doing a Chapter 11, in other words, accepting the involuntary bankruptcy petition. He made the decision that for his own personal financial interests, he didn't care. So he let the company go into the involuntary and let it get liquidated. But I've had other instances where the owners have said, heck no, I'm going to fight for my company. That company matters to me. I've put my heart into it. I slave over it. I work hard for that company. And down the road, I want to sell it and make a lot of money. I don't want to give it up now. So for our purposes today, 3 types of bankruptcies. The voluntary Chapter 11, where the business wants to reorganize. The voluntary bankruptcy, where the company simply wants to sell its assets or its business. And then finally, the involuntary bankruptcy. What makes me different from most other Chapter 11 attorneys is that I believe that the underlying problems of the company, it could be financial, accounting, business, manufacturing, process, psychological, whatever they are, have to be fixed before any Chapter 11 case will work. Most other Chapter 11 attorneys believe that if they have a successful Chapter 11 plan, that means the judge has blessed the plan and says, I'm sure it's going to work. That they have a successful reorganization. What they really have is a successful plan and a failed company. Why spend the time? Why spend the money for that? If you think that your company might need a Chapter 11 reorganization, do yourself a favor. Pick up the phone. Let's talk. Email me. I have more than 30 years experience representing both business debtors and creditors all across the country. The next video is going to be one that will be painful for some of you, but it really is important. It is a video about red flags or danger signs of a company headed towards Chapter 11. Take care.